Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the stream. Today, we are going to be doing sort of the same stuff we did yesterday, except this time we're going to be building a family or organization in the World Nexus. So this is another tier that we use when we're building these modular worlds. And let's just go through and talk a little bit about what a family or organization is in these post guidelines. Oh, sorry, got totally ahead of myself. First things first, we need to talk about the Forever Adventures Library, which is this project that we're doing where we're writing a series of never-ending choose-your-own-adventure books. And we're doing this communally or cooperatively. And you just come in and you find a story that you think is interesting and you write. You fork off of whatever was written before, and then you write however much you want, and then other people take your portion of story and they fork off and they write, and they're, maybe somebody else forks off from the same place and writes something totally different. Whatever it is, it's just an opportunity for us to all build these stories together and then take them wherever we want and have just an endless multiverse of worlds to explore. And that link is going to be in the description. And then also, we're talking about, and primarily what we're going to be talking about today is the World Nexus, which is a project where we're building modular world building, right? So you've got different people you can create if you want to create a family or organization, individual points of interest, or entire kingdoms in different worlds, whether they be fantasy, sci-fi, whatever it is. And we're going to create these things together cooperatively, and then we're going to have the ability to mash those things together in all kinds of different combinations for storytelling and for tabletop RPGs and for all different kinds of stuff like that. Yesterday we started to create, and then I got to a minimum viable product, the character Spark Steelclaw. He's definitely not completed, but I think he's complete enough that we can throw him on here and allow people to start using him. And so today we're going to go down to the next tier, which is the families and organizations. And let's talk a little bit about what that means. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if at any time you enjoy the video. So families are not just the farmer, his wife, and their children. It is a group of individuals bound together by purpose or kinship. It is the bandits hiding in the woods attacking passing merchant convoys. It is the Order of Knights based in the capital. It is a pantheon of gods. At this scope, we are starting to look for culture and structure. The knights have a code that they live by. They have history involving battles and great knights they look up to, or those fallen from their order to serve at the hands of some historic villain. Every scope will begin to expand its reach into the world and into the scope before it. Right? There's lots of people involved in a family. So there is never too much detail, while a GM may never tell their players about Godric the Forsaken, who was stripped of his rank and standing for slaughtering innocents at the behest of an evil king, whose name is never spoken in the halls of honor. That doesn't mean that bit of history won't inform the GM on the motivations of the Order and help create a more clear picture in their mind. So every bit of world building that you do is going to help your GMs, your storytellers, your players, whoever it is that's absorbing that information. It's going to help them understand more clearly the individual bit of world building that you've created. And so it's very important to do that as deeply as possible, because this way you're not having to build everything in your world, right? So you get to focus more and spend more time on the individual parts that are important to you. And then those other parts you can borrow from other people who have also had that opportunity to build extremely deeply, and now you just have a more vibrant world. So today we're going to be stepping into the next phase of that. Something I did a little off screen was I got on with ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a huge part of this process for me because I am not the sit by myself in a room with a lamp and a piece of paper or a notebook or whatever and a pencil and just write things out. I can't carry both sides of that creative conversation. I need somebody to prompt me a little bit. to tell me, these are some things that you might want to flesh out to help me. I'm terrible at grammar. I'm terrible at spelling. I need somebody to make my sentences and the rambling that goes on inside of my brain make sense. And ChatGPT is extraordinary for that. And so I use it literally in every bit of creativity I do now because it's just so powerful to have this back and forth with something that understands what I'm trying to say. So me and ChatGPT got together and we created ourselves a little outline of what it is that's important when you're creating a family or organization in a fictional world, things you might want to talk about or build out. First, got to name the organization. We haven't done that yet, but we're going to build. Normally I stick in the fantasy realm. Today I want to get out in a little sci-fi because I feel like I underrepresent my sci-fi friends. And I want them to also feel comfortable coming to the World Nexus because, as we've seen, ChatGPT can help you adapt anything from any genre to any other genre. So even though, yesterday we built Spark Steelclaw and he's a kobold, obviously from a fantasy setting, if you took his summary and took his information and fed it into ChatGPT and asked it to adapt that to a sci-fi setting, it would absolutely be able to do that and allow you to bring Spark Steelclaw into the future, into sci-fi, into the universe, and play with him out there and get him involved in your adventures, on Jupiter or something. So absolutely do that, and then come back to Spark Steelclaw's Discord channel and tell me all about that adventure, right? One of the important things that I think is going to come from the World Nexus is this really simple channel right here, the External Adventures Forum channel. And what this is I've built Spark Steelclaw, right? I've posted him up on the World Nexus. He's now housed here on this Discord server. I want you to come and I want you to steal this character. And then I want you to have him in your TTRPG games. I want you to put him in your stories. If you're writing a book and you need a Kobold Smith, make it Spark Steelclaw. That would be awesome. And then come back here to this External Adventures channel and tell me a little story about the adventure that Spark Steelclaw went on, so that we can share that together. So anybody who borrows Spark Steelclaw in the future can come back and read all of these other interesting adventures he's had the opportunity to go on because of all the wonderful creators and storytellers and players out there. And we're also going to do that with this family or organization we're making today. So the family or organization that we're making today is going to be very The Expanse or Firefly-esque, right? We're going to take an independent ship and we're going to build the crew of that ship as a family, and then we're going to set them up in a sci-fi setting, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So I haven't thought of a name yet. If anybody thinks of a name, put it in the chat and we'll totally use that name. History. The next thing to consider is the history of your family or organization. How did it start? Where are its origins? Is it a long-established institution or a relatively new entity? It is possible that we could go generations back, right? Maybe this ship has just been passed down from generations and the same 3 families or something are just constantly manning and working in this ship. Could be fun. Probably not what we're going to go for. We're probably going to go for a first generation thing, so its history is going to be really short. Culture. Develop a culture for your organization. This includes things like values, beliefs, customs, traditions, and rituals. What is important to your family or organization, and what do they prioritize? So little things like language. If you've ever seen the Firefly series, you know that they always called everything shiny when it was all good. Everything's shiny. And that was a really interesting little quirk that the crew had. Everything was always shiny to them. So even little things like that can be put in as a tradition or a custom. It doesn't have to be something formal, right? It's not something that's etched into stone and passed down from generations. It can be just something that a group of people have collectively and unspokenly started doing together. Structure. Consider the structure of your family or organization. Is it hierarchical with a clear leader or leaders? Is it more democratic with decision-making shared among members? Are the specific roles or responsibilities for different members? So again, this goes through your regular families as well as your organizations, right? Is it a patriarchal family? Is it a matriarchal family? Is it a family of orphans? And so now it's just a bunch of teenage or early adolescent kids running around doing the best they can, trying to survive after their family was killed or something like that. Whatever it is, this is where we're going to build that structure, and we're going to decide exactly how they make decisions collectively. Membership, who is a part of your family or organization? Are there specific requirements for membership, such as age, gender, or background? Are there different levels of membership, such as initiates or elders? Again, this is talking about the individual people. Now, you don't have to get as specific as we did yesterday when we made Spark Steelclaw, right? Just a general summary of who you want this person to be and why they're a part of the organization is great, because then somebody could go back to the World Nexus, find an interesting character that somebody created, and then bammo, plug that in, and you've got one of your organization or family members. Territory. Consider where your family or organization operates. Do they have a specific territory or geographical area that they control or influence? If so, what are the boundaries of this territory, right? If it's a family, they have a house. If it's an organization, maybe a thieves guild, then maybe they operate within the confines of a specific city or kingdom. What is that territory? It doesn't have to be something necessarily that they formally own, but something that they operate. For us, we have an independent ship that's going to be flying around maybe a single solar system or a single galaxy, and so its territory is going to be that galaxy. In the example of Firefly, typically their independent ships stayed on the outskirts of, we'll call it civilized society, and went to more rural planets and systems so that they could avoid some of the more heavily patrolled and I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but some of the more heavily patrolled areas of the more core area of colonization. Next, you have allies and enemies. We talked about this yesterday with our individual. These are your relationships. This is also very important because it's going to help start creating that spider web that comes out and starts gathering up other people, other organizations, other cities, all kinds of different things, right? Everybody's got to have these relationships. Every organization has relationships. Every city has relationships. Every kingdom has relationships. And they don't necessarily have to be on the same level. Families don't just have relationships with other families. Entire families can have relationships with single individuals or entire kingdoms. So come up with some interesting dynamic ways that your particular family or organization is set into the world. Goals and ambitions. This is a really important one. Organizations are one of the places, and I honestly should probably add this to the person as well, some goals and ambitions, because each person is also going to have goals and ambitions, but collectively, what is this organization or family trying to do? What do they want? Are they just trying to survive in a bitter, unforgiving world? Or are they on a religious crusade? Or, are they a group of mages and they're all only concerned with gathering knowledge and spells and magical items and artifacts? What is it that they're trying to do? Symbols. Families and organizations often have symbols that are associated with their organization. Sometimes it's even an extremely complex symbolic language that is used to convey information in a hidden way. So anything like that, if it's just something as simple as a family crest, that's really interesting to put in there. Or it can be um, even things like handshakes or salutes, or baseball organizations have different signals that they give to runners and batters and different things like that. All of these can be part of that symbolism. And then you can add that in there as well, and that will give additional depth to your organization. And then maybe if you're playing a tabletop RPG and one of your characters becomes a part of that organization, they learn this symbolism, and then they have this whole interesting network of people and this interesting network of potential caches. One of the things that comes to mind is Thieves' Cant from Dungeons and Dragons. Right, you have these symbols that might represent caches or safe places to rest or all kinds of different things like that. That can be true of any organization or group. It doesn't just have to be, thieves inside of the Dungeons and Dragons world. And legacy. Finally, consider what you want your family organization's legacy to be. How do you want future generations to remember it? What impact do you want it to have on the world of your story? This is one that I've totally left out, even though ChatGPT recommended it. And it's because since we're using these to create stories, I don't want to write the ending before we write the rest of the story, especially because we want to use these in as many different stories and games as we possibly can. So we're not going to do that. If you do want to do something like that, that's absolutely acceptable. Obviously, it's your family, your organization, do whatever you want. But I'm not going to do it because I would like for that legacy to change with each new story this group or family goes on. So let's start working on what we're going to name these folks. I have no ideas. What would you name an independent ship? Man, I'm so bad at names. It's just awful. Just awful. ChatGPT, help me. I'm too dumb. I need you. Okay. I am creating an independent space vessel in a sci-fi world, and I don't know what to call it. It is a small mining vessel with a small crew working in an asteroid field. Naming your independent space vessel can be fun and creative process. Here are some ideas. Asteria. This name is derived from the Greek word for star and could be a fitting name for a vessel working in an asteroid field. Comet catcher. Ooh, I like that one. If your vessel is designed to collect or mine comets, this name could be a great fit. Venture miner. Hate that one. Ironclad, a name that suggests strength and durability, which could be a fitting name for a vessel working in the harsh conditions of an asteroid field. Stargazer, a name that suggests curiosity and exploration, which would be a great fit for a vessel that is venturing out into unknown reaches of space. Not something necessarily that I am interested in for this one, right? It's not an exploration vessel. Nova Prospector, a name that suggests a combination of mining and exploration. And also references the explosive energy of a nova, could be a great fit for a small mining vessel. Rock Hopper, a name that suggests a vessel that is nimble and agile, able to navigate through asteroid fields and collect valuable resources. And Star Miner. So here's what we're actually going to do. We're going to steal two of these. We're going to take Rock Hopper is going to be the class of vessel in this fantasy realm. So it's going to be a Rock Hopper class vessel named Comet Catcher. I think that is perfect, actually. I'm really happy with that. So we're going to change this server settings. We're going to get right down in here. We're going to change this from family org, and we're going to change it to Comet Catcher. Did I spell Comet right? I'm really bad. Nope. Comet's only got one M. Shouldn't it be Comet? We have the Comet Catcher. That's very exciting. So that's going to be the name of our ship. We don't have a summary necessarily yet. Like I said, even though that's the first thing you have up here, it's probably one of the last things you're interested in creating because it's going to be a summary of everything else. The history overview. Let's think a little bit about the history of the Comet Catcher. There's always... It's a trope in pretty much every fictional space that the genesis of these groups of individuals, right? These adventurers or whatever it is always fairly tumultuous, right? In Firefly, they're previous military individuals who, after losing a war as part of a rebel resistance, they sort of kick off to the outskirts of the known universe and take this Firefly class ship and just go off and try and live their lives by themselves. And most of them all come from the same military unit. All right, so that was a very tumultuous beginning for them. In the Expanse, that was very. I forget the particulars of how the Rocinante became owned by that particular group of people, but it was extremely violent and tumultuous. And I don't necessarily want to do that. Faction or family works. Faction to me almost lines up more with kingdom, though. Like it's a group of organizations would be a faction. When I think maybe this is just because of my video game playing days, but when you choose a faction in a video game, usually it's the kingdom or group of guilds or whatever it is that you belong to is your faction, and so it's this sort of broader concept. I don't want to. I use organization. Organization is not meant to be um, like a transactional organization, right? I'm not talking about like Walmart. I'm talking about the Elks Lodge or some other fraternal group or just an individual military unit or something like that. These are all organizations, even though they're not necessarily um, trade based. They don't have to be trade based to be an organization, although they could. Absolutely. So let's try and tone down the tumultuousness of creating this little family here. And I just want them to be, I am creating a crew of a small independent ship. These individuals have purchased the ship they were previously employed on and now work for themselves mining comets across the galaxy. Yep. Actually, I want a little more information. Can you help me write a summary of their history? Let's see what it gives. Why are you giving me these errors? Why do you hate me, ChatGPT? I just want to be your friend. Thank you. Sure, I'd be happy to help you write a summary of the crew's history. After years of working for a large corporation, a group of skilled individuals banded together to purchase the ship they had previously worked on. They were tired of being at the mercy of their employers and longed for the freedom and adventure that comes with independent space travel. The crew consists of the captain, a former pilot for the corporation who had grown disillusioned with their profit-driven motives, the engineer who had been responsible for keeping the ship running smoothly for years, the navigator who had an uncanny ability to plot courses through the galaxy with great precision, and the miner who had a talent for finding and extracting valuable resources from comets they encountered. Together they set out to make a name for themselves as independent miners and traders. They encountered challenges along the way, from treacherous asteroid fields to hostile alien encounters, but they always managed to persevere. As they traveled from system to system, they gained a reputation as skilled and reliable spacefarers. Eventually, they stumbled upon a rich deposit of rare minerals on a remote comet, which brought them great wealth and recognition. We're going to cut this part out. Again, ChatGPT loves to wrap up stories. So a lot of times if it's going to give you an ending to your story, you can just kind of cut that part out if you don't want your story to end yet. Anyway, it brought them great wealth and recognition. With their newfound success, they continued to explore the galaxy, always on the lookout for the next big discovery. Despite the dangers they faced, the crew remained a tight-knit group, relying on each other to overcome any obstacle that came their way. Their independence allowed them to chart their own course through the galaxy, and they found fulfillment in the freedom and adventure that came with their chosen path. Okay, I like this description, right? It's good enough, it's serviceable. But what I want to do to it is I want to get names for each of these individuals, right? We have a small 4-man crew. I also think I want to add a chef, because in these independent crew space adventures, there's always that one individual who takes the just disgusting paste of space food and turns it into something palatable. That person is always exceptionally respected by the crew, because the difficulties of living a life in space would be absolutely not worth it if you couldn't at least eat halfway decent food sometimes. So I'm going to make sure that they put that in there. And then I'm going to get it to give names. And then, of course, I'm going to tell it to get rid of the words the ship and change it into the name, which is Comet something. I already forgot. Comet Catcher. There we go. Okay, so replace all instances of the ship with Comet Catcher. And okay, put a period there. Let's go down and make a new thing. Give names to the members of the crew. Now, I'm giving names to the members of the crew, but I wouldn't necessarily assume that the individuals who are going to borrow this particular organization would use those names, right? Because you're going to go out and you're going to find characters to fill these positions from the World Nexus. And Silver Dolphin, nice. I actually will change it to Silver Dolphin. Let's do it. Oh, don't know what I'm doing here. You're changing. Oh, that's why. Server settings. Silver Dolphin. But like I was saying, I don't necessarily assume that people are going to use the names of the individuals that I put in here. The reason I want it to give them names is because it's much easier to read, right? The Navigator is boring, but Charles Darwin is an interesting name to read while you're reading a little bit of history about the vessel. So I just want to always give everything proper names because it's just more palatable while you read. Also, add a cook who makes palatable meals using disgusting food pastes designed for space, and give them a name also. Ooh, ChatGPT, what is wrong with you right now? Why don't you want to be my friend? I am human. Comet mining crew. Oh, the other thing, actually, this is good, because we don't want to have this replaced with Comet Catcher. We want to have it replaced with Silver Dolphin. ammo. Let's see what we get. Sure, here's an updated summary with the changes you requested. After years of working for a large corporation, a group of skilled individuals banded together to purchase the Silver Dolphin, the ship they had previously worked on. They were tired of being at the mercy of their employers and longed for the freedom and adventure that comes with independent space travel. The crew consists of the captain, Jack Mitchell, a former pilot for the corporation who had grown disillusioned with the profit-driven motives, the engineer, Maria Garcia, who had been responsible for keeping the Silver Dolphin running smoothly for years, the navigator, Tom Chang, who had an uncanny ability to plot courses through the galaxy with great precision, and the miner, Sarah Kim, who had a talent for finding and extracting valuable resources from the comets they encountered. Together, they set out to make a name for themselves as independent miners and traders. They encountered challenges along the way, from treacherous asteroid fields to hostile alien encounters, but they always managed to persevere. As they traveled from system to system, they gained a reputation as skilled and reliable spacefarers. Eventually, they stumbled upon a rich deposit. Oh, they added the cook at the end. I don't like that. This is great, but put the cook in the character introduction paragraph with the rest. Can't just be leaving the cook out to dry like that. Absolutely. All right. After years of working for a large corporation, a group of skilled individuals banded together to purchase the Silver Dolphin, the ship they had previously worked on. They were tired of being at the mercy of their employees and longed for the freedom and adventure that comes with independent space travel. All right, we've got Captain Jack Mitchell still. We have Maria Garcia still. We have Tom Chang, the navigator. We have Sarah Kim, the miner. And we have the cook, Samantha Sam Lee, who makes palatable meals using disgusting food pastes designed for space. I love how it just literally took the words out of my mouth and put them on there. That's fantastic. Together they set out to make themselves a name, and we're going to stop right here. This is going to be our origin story. This is going to be our history. And we're going to take that and we're just going to plop her down. Right in there. All right, culture overview. Now this is the part where we're going to decide how these individuals govern themselves, right? There's only 5 people in here. We have the captain of a ship, right? We usually take nautical law and apply it to space travel is the trope that we normally follow. But let's maybe not do that. Let's make them, because there's 5 of them, so there's never going to be a stalemate. So let's just make it a straight 1-to-1 democracy. And they make every single major decision 100% together by democratic vote. And I think that will make for some interesting situations. Like, if they were being pursued, it's a big decision to decide if they're going to run or if they're going to stay and fight. So having to have a vote right there in the 5 seconds before you're potentially annihilated by another ship, you have to have a democratic vote to decide whether or not you're going to fight or whether or not you're going to run. I love it. It's going to make for some wonderful comedy and some really tense moments. So, for culture, we're going to put the silver dolphin is a 1-to-1 democracy. Each of the members provided an equal stake in the ship's purchase and each member receives an equal share and equal say. The crew takes special care, even in tense situations, to hold a vote about all important decisions. Thank you. Spell check. I like that. It's a great culture overview. We're going to have some customs and traditions that we're going to write in. Right, we're going to change this, or we're going to have a structure a little bit. And I think inside of the structure, we're just going to put what each individual's job is, right? Because they still have specialties, even if they're one-for-one democracy. You have an engineer. That person is obviously going to do the engineering things because they know what they're talking about. So we will put that in the structure version. In the goals, what should be the goals of this little organization? What could an independent crew, what if their goal is to create more crews like them? So they go out, they do all of this independent mining, they build up this wealth, and then they help other crews buy out their own ships to become independent. I think that's great. The Silver Dolphin, well, the crew of the Silver Dolphin, the crew of the Silver Dolphin wish to emancipate as many mining crews as possible, and they put all of their excess funds towards helping other crews buy out their own ships. And then let's put let's not put mining crews in here. Let's put emancipate as many crews as possible. And they put all of their excess funds towards helping other crews buy out their own ships. But let's put they are especially focused on mining vessels, but also help cargo and other small crews in bad situations with bad companies. I dig that. I can get behind it. So the crew of the Silver Dolphin wish to emancipate as many crews as possible. They put all of their excess funds towards helping other crews buy out their own ships. They are especially focused on mining vessels, but also help cargo and other small crews in bad situations with bad companies. That's going to open up a ton of potential relationships here, right? Because every ship they've ever helped is going to feel a debt to them. And so that's going to give them this crazy network. Honestly, this organization is starting to sort of build up into a potential PC group, right? Player character group for a tabletop RPG, or the main character group for a story. And originally, I just intended it to be this sort of side set of characters, this side organization. They might bump into, the main characters of your story might bump into these guys for a little while and then just carry on with their day, or maybe they're stranded and they bum a ride or something like that. But it's developing into what I think would be a really cool main story arc. So they'll have this crazy network that's going to take a lot of input. Well, honestly, it would take more input by the person cycling through the world nexus, trying to find all of these different small familial organizations to include as different relationships. But and again, you wouldn't necessarily need to find all of those groups, right? It could be just a passing thing, like they call up the cargo ship that they know that is just known by name, and you don't necessarily need any additional information about it in order to transport some cargo that maybe is against the law. But this cargo ship has a particularly good rating, or has a particularly good what they call smuggler's hold. And so they always do all the smuggling for this little consort of, or consortium of, independent vessels. But it doesn't have to be more complicated than that. It can be, but it doesn't need to be. So that'll be some fun stuff to do with relationships. We'll come up with some cool relationships to put in there. Symbolism. Um, Also, because there's going to be this consortium of independent vessels, some interesting symbols, some interesting hull designs that could be unique just to this consortium could be interesting, right? So just some stuff that gets painted on the hull to let other members of the consortium know that, hey, we're friendly because we're all part of this group that's emancipated ourselves. I think that sounds like fun. So we'll create a symbol for that. But we don't want it to be too obvious, right? It's got to be something really subtle and played down, because we don't just want to advertise the consortium as this really big organization. We want it to be under the radar, undercover. And then members, we've talked a little bit about the members. We could put some interesting history in for each of the members, but again, the deeper you build each of the individual members here, maybe if this is just going to be a side bit to a story or a side bit to a TTRPG game, then all of the information you put here would be enough information for the members, right? You're just going to write a general summary, and that'll be good enough. But if it's used for anything more deep than that, then you're going to want to go and find characters to inhabit these particular membership roles. And then customs and traditions. That one's going to be really fun. I'm really excited to try and think of some things like the use of the word shiny for this particular crew. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And then structure, we don't. That's just the democracy thing, and we'll put people in their roles, and that'll be it. This is really exciting. I'm really interested about this. I am wildly excited about the ultimate potential of the World Nexus. It seems a little clunky from the outside, but all you need, right? All you need in order to access Spark Steel Claw is the link right here in his message. Just bammo. You join the server. There's a server link up here that you can copy and paste anywhere, right? This works from anywhere. You put it in a Word document, you put it as a message in another Discord channel, you save it to a Google Doc, you do whatever you do with it, and then you can always get right back to Spark Steelclaw and his general his character summary by just clicking that link. every single time. It's super fast, super easy. Just bammo and you're there. Especially, nope, when you're inside of Discord, then it just takes you there immediately. If you're using it from outside of Discord, it'll probably take you to the Discord web app. But if you're doing it from inside Discord, then you're just boom, you're here. And that is wildly useful. The other thing is you can create folders for your different purposes. And you can name this folder. So if you've got a campaign going on, and you want to go to folder settings and name this folder your campaign, right? And then you keep all of the servers for all of the organizations and people and interesting little bits that you want to have in your world while your player characters or your story happens inside of this world. Then you just keep all of that right there in your folder. It doesn't clutter up. It doesn't get in the way of all this information over here on the left-hand side. It's just a folder, and it's just got a name, and you can move it all the way down to the bottom, move it all the way up to the top. It doesn't really matter. Totally out of the way. Unfortunately, you cannot nest folders, right? You can't have a folder inside of a folder. If you could, it would be probably the greatest thing in the entire world, because then you could just have your people's folder, your places folder, your kingdoms folder, your whatever folder, and then you could keep stuff even more organized than that, and it'd be really easy to go through and look at. But it's all there. It's all really easy to access, especially when you access it from Discord to Discord. And so I'm so excited about the World Nexus project. I'm so excited to see people who are more talented than me at world building throw some things into this world, into the Nexus, so that we can manipulate and play with them. I think I am extraordinarily average when it comes to my ability to create interesting characters and interesting places. And I think average is perfectly fine. I'm perfectly happy with being average, but I would love to see somebody much more talented than me get something together and put it on here. Because I'd really, really love to read. I think it would improve my ability if I saw somebody else make something really, really interesting and really, really deep. I think it would make me understand better where I could take some of these characters and some of these concepts and ultimately make me a better builder. So if you have any ideas, right, you don't need permission, you don't have to ask. Make a character server, make a place server, whatever it is, and put it on the Nexus, right? Let's share, let's have some fun, let's build some interesting worlds together. That's what this is all about. I just want to tell stories in the most dynamic way we possibly can, because dynamic storytelling is such a wonderful pastime. It's such good entertainment. It's so enjoyable, and it's so different. Every time you open up a system like the World Nexus, you're just going to be getting this new, exciting, wonderful story. And I'm really excited. I'm so far ahead of myself, right? There's so much work to do, so many things that need to get created before we can really start exploring these worlds. And I'm already just so excited to do it. So I do think that we're going to cut this one a little bit shorter today, because we've gotten the concepts down, right? We've decided what a family or organization is. We've built the standard Discord server for it. And just watching me struggle to try and get stuff down on paper and make an idea for, I mean, it's going to take me hours and hours to finish out what I can, and then I'm going to post another short like I did yesterday with the organization, and tell people to steal it, and then link it all again so that more people can find their way over to the Nexus and the different worlds that we're building. So yeah, I'm going to take some time offline. I'm going to get the rest of that stuff done. I'm going to get that published as a short. So Paul, thanks again for stopping by. Great idea for the name for the ship, the Silver Dolphin. That was way better than Comet Catcher. Yeah, and I won't see you all tomorrow, but I will see you all on Thursday, and then again Friday. We're going to take all the different parts of the world that we create, and we're going to mash them together and tell some stories. Maybe make some more people, places, things. Maybe I'll get some of that done on my free time. But on Friday, I want to have a little bit of a longer stream, and I just want it to be all about stories. We're just going to mash some things together. We're going to see what happens. We're going to change genres. We're going to do all kinds of crazy stuff with it. So thanks again. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and everybody have a great day.